Okay, everybody. So, as some of you may know, may not know, I really, really, really love like learning about fishing and outdoors in general, but really fishing. I love learning how they do it in different parts of the world. It's very fascinating to me, and it's just really cool because, like, you 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 get so used to seeing how it's done, and especially here in America, we're always like, well, we know what we're doing. This is how it's supposed to be done, and it gets kind of boring after a while. So I really like it, learning about how they do it, especially like carp fishing, how we carp fish versus how they carp fish, how we catfish versus how they catfish, because it can be either super simplified on their part, and we make it super complicated, or they make it super complicated and we make it super simplified. And this is really cool. With that being said, with all this type of stuff I search on YouTube, I get a lot of videos that come across my feed, and some of them are interesting, some of them aren't. But about 3 days ago, I got one of a Russian guy fishing for crucian carp. Now, I'm not completely sure what the difference between a crucian carp and a regular carp is. The only thing I can really see is the crucian carp looked a little shinier. They look kind of like silver instead of a gold, and they're a little smaller. But besides that, he was doing it in a really cool way with a rod similar to this. Now, usually with carp fishing, you fish from the bank. That's kind of a general thing. Well, this guy, he had one of those little, I'm not really sure what you would call them, but it's kind of like a little floaty, like a little float seat. And, you got the little, a lot of fly fishermen use them. Anyway, it's like a little pontoon float that you sit in and your legs are in the water and you do that. Well, he was fishing in something similar to that, and he was fishing in a lake. And what he would do, and I found this really interesting, is he would find an area, say our rod right here is open water. It's say 15 feet of open water. And on either side of it, there's these reed beds. Well, what he would do is he would come on to, say, this side of the reed bed, and he would cut like a semicircle, maybe 3 feet wide, 2 feet like into the reed bed. And he would stack the reeds he cut on either side, and he would bake that little, he would like chum that little area with like corn or whatever. And he would go to the other side, and he would have this really long, it looks a lot like an extendable cane pole like we use here in the U.S. And it had this little bitty reel on it that couldn't cast. Like, it couldn't cast or anything like that. It looked like a really, really small center pin reel. And he had this real sensitive float, and he was using like a super small hook. At first, I was like, this guy has to be like fishing for shiners or something, how small the hook was. He would put like 2 or 3 maggots on there, and he would go to the other side, and he would like ease his big rod. It was at least like a 15-foot pole, and he would ease it out, and he would just drop it. And he was just dropping that little semicircle he cut, and this guy was catching these crucian carp with it.
пойдет. Ребятки, ну шо, понеслась. Посмотрите, какой красавело просто. Первый за сегодня.
And I found it very interesting because he was fishing in a way that I don't think I've ever really seen, but it looks really similar to something I do with a cane pole. Now, when I started looking at stuff a lot more, it looked very, very similar to some stuff I've seen, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But I was like, you know, that's really cool. That might be something I need to try on a different, you know, basis. Well, lo and behold, I was in the Walmart yesterday, and I was walking by the fishing aisle like I always do, trying to waste money. And they had this. Now, they didn't have a reel on it. They had, you know, this with the cane poles and stuff. Now, this is an extendable. At first, I thought it was like any other extendable cane pole. Like, it's just some generic one, Mississippi State. And what an extendable cane pole is, for you guys who don't know, it's just, it's basically a fiberglass tube with a handle and these line holders. And it basically goes from this 4-foot stick, because it nests. The rod is collapsible. And there's usually this little plug on the end of it to keep it from coming out. But you pull the plug off, and then your rod extends out to like 10, 15, 20, you know. Some of the guys in the UK have like 50-foot ones. They're like massive. But they have a special name for them. I forgot what it was. But anyway, it was over there with those, and, you know, it had this funky little tip on it. So I, you know, played with it, and then I saw it had guides. It had line guides, and it had a reel seat on it. So I was like, you know, what the heck? By the way, this is a Black Widow. This is a 13-foot Black Widow, if anybody's curious. Anyway, I was like, what the heck? You know, I've never really seen, you know, I've seen them, but I haven't had much interest in them, but it reminded me kind of what the guy was using. So I Google it, you know, and I start reading about it in the middle of the fishing aisle in Walmart, by the way, which got me some weird looks, but who cares? I started reading about it, and this is how they're usually set up. They're usually set with these little reels. And how they're supposed to be used generally is not like a regular cane pole. You know, for a regular cane pole, you just pitch it out, pull the fish back in. Well, with these are mainly used for spider rigging. For what spider rigging is, it's mainly used for crappie fishing, or chocolate, or white perch, whatever you want to call them. It's mainly used for that. And how it works is, you have your boat. Again, say our pole is our boat here. Once you find the crappies tend to concentrate in a certain water column. And that will get into why we have a reel on in a second. But they tend to concentrate in a certain water column. Once you find a school of them, these boats with the spider rigging, they'll have these setups with the rod holders, and it's like, can be 10 to 15. I saw pictures of like 20 rods just across the boat, and it makes it look like a spider. And it's these really long rods, usually about at least 10 foot, to get it away from the boat for some reason. I guess they don't like shadow under the boat, I'm not sure. But they will put these rods out. Now, crappie apparently don't fight very much, so there's no real need to really horse them. There's no real need for us. There are a lot of spinning reels. Mr. Crappie makes spinning reels, but most of the reels a lot of people use are these little doodads, because you don't really need to fight them. The fish isn't really taking line or anything, and the main purpose of the reel is to hold the extra line. So when you figure out where they're at in the water column, you can just strip enough line out, say 10 feet of line. If they're at the bottom, you put it in your rod holder, and you just strip the line out till it hits to where the fish are. And you basically just keep it there. It's not really made to reel in, reel out. It's just basically a line holder. That's kind of the use for them. It's, you know, if I didn't explain it good enough, you can see YouTube videos on how it works and everything. But these are really just made to be line holders, just to give you an extra line, a little extra edge on a regular cane pole. But when I looked at the reels and the setup, it really reminded me of what that Russian guy was doing with these crucian carp. And I was like, I got to try something because it really made me think. Now, I love using a cane pole for bait fishing. I really do. It's really fun. But the problem is, I'm limited pretty well. Like sometimes I only need an extra 2 or 3 feet to, get out there to where I won't or under a limb or somewhere. I can't get right under a limb. So I was like, this might be a solution. Now with the little reel here, these reels aren't made to cast. They're made to, again, just hold line. But they do have this little line stop. And you can adjust your tension. It's a very, very simple mechanism, but you can have it where it comes out. You can have it where it has like a little clicker and it's really, really light. You can lock it down and it stops itself. And the main deal with the cane pole is it doesn't do that. And when you get a bigger fish, say you accidentally catch a catfish, with a cane pole, there's no way to tire him out. You are connected to that fish. So unless he comes towards you, there's a good chance he's going to break it. With this, I could flip that. I could flip this little, again, they're $5, so they're not the most well-made thing. But I could flip this little thing, and I can let him run and, have a better chance of tiring him out. Get that catfish. I thought that would be a cool thing. And I started looking at center pin reels, and the center pin reels are a similar concept. So I said, let's get this, and let's try it. So I need to refill my bait tank anyway, so I figured this would be cool. Now with this little bait alarm, that's a really light bait alarm. I think bluegill could take that. So, there's a lot of things I see we can do with this. I see drop shotting off a bridge. I see even at a pond, with it being 13 feet, I could set it up at an angle with a drop shot rig and almost kind of vertically jig it. I see a lot of options other than just spider rigging. So, since I got to refill my bait tank, we're going to go down to my little bait pond, which is just full of little bluegill and brim, and should be some bullheads in there now. We're going to take this out here and we're going to see all the different things we can do with it. And hopefully it's going to make a fun video. So, with enough of me babbling, it's overcast right now, so the fish are probably going to be biting, so we're going to go out there and try it. So, let's do it. Okay, everybody, so it's not quite the time of the day I like to really bait fish. Still a little hot out, but I want to make sure we would have appropriate light for filming, because usually when I like to bait fish, it's pretty close to dark. So I didn't know if my phone camera there would pick it up real good. But anyhow, we're out here at my favorite little bait fishing spot. This is a little pond that was like literally 4 years ago. This thing was covered in trees and wasn't nothing in here but dang snakes and turtles and frogs. There was no fish. There were tons of turtles and snakes and everything else I wanted to crawl in the mud, but there were no fish. Well, all the trees got cut down, dragged out. I mean, all the old trees, as you see. It's been regrown a little bit. Still, it's 80 times better than what it was. But I came down here and just due to all the dang everything want to live in here, I dumped a bunch of brim. Recently, some bluegill bullheads about 2 years ago. And I'm not sure about the bullheads. My dad caught one about 2 or 3 days ago. But the little bluegill and the green sunfish and all the different brim collectively they've done good. They're not to the point where they're stunted, I feel, but at the same time, I come down here and catch a crap load of small fish, about like yay big, in no time at all. It's just super fun, and it's a great place to come and just kind of relax. So that's where we're at. I'm probably gonna do a little pan picture so y'all see the whole deal, but this is where we're going to test our pole here. See what we're going to do with it. So we got a tag where I tied it off. But this is our This is our crappie jigging rod that I'm going to try and use in a slightly different fashion. So it's 13 feet long, and I think my longest rod right now is my actual crappie rod. By actual crappie rod, I mean it's one they use on a spinning reel. It's 10 foot, and usually how I fish with it is I barely cast. I use it more like a cane pole. I just cast, an extra 5 feet. But with this dealie here, I figure I can do the same thing, maybe slightly more effort. The reel is a real simple thing. I mean, it's like 4 pieces of plastic and a bolt. So it's literally just here to, for the most part, just to keep the line and to retrieve the line and keep it from getting bunched up. With a normal cane pole, you gotta like wrap your line around, or a lot of them have like it's like 2 little brackets pointing in opposite directions, and you wrap the line around it. It's a little easier, a little more convenient. And the cool thing about it is, since this has guides, it can kind of work like a regular reel. Is if you loosen the drag up, and this is the drag function, little thingy, and it's just a little spring that goes to the bolt and it sandwiches the line reel. If you loosen up, they can take it real good. If I put the bait alarm on, it has a real simple bait alarm. That's not it. There it is. You can hear it. It's not taking much force, so I'm gonna set it out here, and a lot of these fish are really aggressive, so I think it'll be cool just to have the bait alarm going and see how much drag one of these little suckers can take. But for a rig, all I do is I got some people call it a sabiki rig, some people call it a high-low rig. I think it's not a sabiki rig unless you had the flies on it, but what it is, I got a 30-pound braid main line, and I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Wow, that's a lot for brim fishing," but I like it because there are limbs and stuff in a lot of places I fish, and you don't know what you're gonna catch, so I would like to have something that's pretty small. This is smaller than 10-pound test, which I usually use, but if I end up hooking a carp or something with this setup, I could play them more, and then with the 30-pound braid, there's a good chance I could land them. And also, it really helps when you get a little brim who wants to be a little butthole, and he gets in some brush. You can just yank the whole brush out. But anyhow, I got 2 hooks. These are about size 8 Aberdeen long shank hooks, and I got a T-knot tied. I got one about 5 inches from the bottom, and I got another one about a foot from that one, so I can see where they're hitting at. So if it gets to the point they're just hitting at the bottom, when I only bait one of them. Check your state laws. I'm pretty sure this is legal in Mississippi. But little bitty bell sinker, T-knot with Aberdeen, T-knot with an Aberdeen, and yeah, I'm gonna put this in a rod holder. But let's deploy it first. So got this little keeper that keeps it from sliding out. All we do is just take that off. We're gonna put that in our pocket, and I'm gonna put this on the right function to let the line out. Okay, there it is. Now, something I didn't understand when I first was looking at these, I took the tips off all of them. I always do it with my Walmart rods because I've gotten some of them that with the extendable cane poles, I got some of them the tips have been broke. So anything like that, I always check it. You have one of the eyes that slides. Now I thought that was broke because all of them were like that. So I finally just bought one. I was like, I'll just fix it when I get to the house. But it's just this one that just kind of sticks itself into place. That's just normal. So just trying to make sure we keep everything even. Okay. And there we go. And as you see, the guys are spaced out. The guys are spaced out pretty long. I mean, this is not something you're going to want to finesse, use finesse fishing for bass, because it's just not made to cast. But what we're gonna do is it's gonna be good enough. So, and you use a cane pole. Depending on who it is, a lot of people have the line the exact same length or a foot more than the pole. So, this being a 13-foot pole, you would have 13 or 14 feet of line, and you would just, you know, do that kind of motion, just flip it out into the water. Well, with this, I got an extra, I'd say 20 yards of this braid. What I can do is I can flip on the little release. I can peel it out some, kind of like a fly rod. I can flip it out more, and I can get an extra 5-6 feet worth of cast distance, and I can, when I get a fish, I can just flick the anti-reverse on, pull that bunch out, kind of like a center pin, and just bring him in. Or if it's a bigger fish, I can just kind of bear down on the drag a little bit and let them take the drag and tire them out a little more. And then use it kind of like a traditional reel. The problem with this is a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning one turn of the thing is only going to give you that much. Whereas with like a bait casting reel, some of those are like a 1-to-5 ratio, meaning one turn of your hand equals like 5 turns of the spool. So you can retrieve it real faster. This is 1-to-1, so every time you turn that sucker, you're only getting one turn, and it's a really small spool. But for center pin, when you got like a foot of line per turn, it's not that big of a deal. But with this, it's kind of a pain. So yeah. So anyhow, I got me a rod holder. I'm gonna sit down here, and I got it at a kind of a big angle. Because when I throw this in the water, I want my rod kind of in an upward angle. That's going to keep my bait kind of suspended in the water column a little better. And I think that's going to help with my hookups. So we're going to try that. It's just one of these cheap ones at Walmart. I got been at a kind of serious angle there. Really, I just wanted a Y stick, but I ain't see no real tall ones on any of the trees around here, so we will make do. I'm just using red worms. I had to drive all over town to find them. Usually I just go to the feed store. But the feed store in one town was outside the drive town over. They were out, so they had to drive to another place, and they finally had some at the one place they usually don't have them. So thought that was interesting. So we're gonna see what we can get here. I'm mainly just bait fishing. Kind of fill my tank back up. Loosen that drag up. There we go, that's nice. Put it in this rod holder. Tighten that line up. And oh! Got one. Hey! That didn't take long at all. As you see, I just jumped them on in. Yeah. Nice little bait fish. I'll move my bucket here till I put this in the water. Even back in our rod holder here. cool thing about it being that long and nimble, anytime some wind comes through, if you can tuck, oh, got another one. Hey, pretty fun. I love it when they peel that drag off. This is why I like these Aberdeen hooks, because you see he swallowed it. With a short shank hook, you have a lot more problems. With these Aberdeen, it's a lot easier to unhook them by having to get a pair of forceps, and he's okay. I get a lot less dead ones like this, so throw you back in. See if we can put some more distance on it this time. I'm just gonna lay it on the right here for a second. On the water. Yeah, as I was saying, it's really cool with the long, how long and sensitive it is, because if you put it at that angle, and you get it real tight line, especially with this kind of drop shot deal, anytime the wind blows, it's going to shake that tip and it's going to put some action. I'm noticing it's going to put action on that, on them baits. This is actually, this is fun. I'm not saying this, I got one? I thought I had one. Yeah, I'm casting an extra, I'm able to cast an extra couple feet with this, no problem whatsoever. I'm in no way saying this is better, say a spinning reel or something, but it's different and it's fun, and it's, it's not the only way. Add a little more attention to it, actually. So there's not only one way you have to use these rods. You can actually use them pretty effectively. What I'm seeing like this, it's actually pretty cool. Put it right there, and yeah, that's pretty interesting. So gonna lay it down. See if you can. Oh, that line went in. Yeah, I think. Whoa. Yeah, look at that. Got another one. Pretty fun. One problem I'm starting to see here is if you had a lot of trees, because I'm angled right here. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So that's 3 in what, about less than 10 minutes, something like that. I haven't been here that long. And dang, these shank Aberdeen hooks really save you some dead fish. And he's a little bigger, but I think I can use him. I'm gonna have my line tossed out while put him in the bucket there. Dang, had a fight while I was putting him in the bucket. He got off. Wait a minute, where's my hook? What in the heck? He didn't break the line, but look at this, guys. My hook's gone. That's crazy. That is crazy. I think that was my only Aberdeen hook I had on hand. Now I got an excuse to go ahead and pull on a float rig. Okay, y'all, so y'all I use for a float is just one of these little pencil floats off Amazon. Then I put two little split shot weights up here. A lot of people put them down here by the bait because they believe the bait needs to sink faster, but I like my bait to kind of sink kind of slower, because I really feel a lot of these fish, they hear this impact of the bobber and they come rushing to the bobber, and then they see this little sun gun floating really slow, and I just feel that catches me more fish. I might be overthinking it, but it seems to work for me. And on a cool note, I've seen videos of guys fishing for a fish called roach, or it's like a really small, it's like a bottom feeding fish, and they're really light biting. And what a lot of these guys would do is, instead of making it where they set the hook, they make it so where they see the float go down, they set the hook. They actually have it weighted in a way that when the fish picks up the bait, it's going to raise the split shot. So when they see the float raise up, that's when they set the hook, because they're so light biting that they won't put any pressure, going down. It's kind of weird, but again, just interesting things. See if we can catch us some more bait this way. There we go. Right off the bat. You might catch a few more here before I throw him in the bucket. Actually, I'm just going to put my rod down. Throw him in. Oh yeah, he's gone. It's a little harder to set the hook with this because this rod isn't as what's the word? By the time I give that little tug, by the time it makes it all the way down the rod, the fish let it go. So I gotta be, but again, that's a good thing about having these real sensitive floats. He took my bait. Is if you weight them, put some weights on it, you can make it really sensitive. So he comes by and he farts on it. You'll know. Oh. Feisty one. I mean, it is so much fun to have these little fellas just rip the drag. He engulfed this. Yeah, that's a shame. You would have been a nice one, buddy. Yeah, so I'm rebaiting, but I want to share y'all a cool little dealio I'm finding out about using this rod in the manner I'm doing. Now, as I mentioned before, this reel is really simple. It has a stop, and it has a stop, and it has a let out that's also a bait alarm. Well, what I'm finding is there are certain little points from where I'm casting that are a certain distance, right? Well, what I can do is once I cast out there, I can reel in most of the slack, and then I can put on the stop. And with that, I can just fling it over there and it's going to stop almost right where I want it. That's pretty cool, but we're going to walk around the pond a little bit here. See if I can get y'all some cool up-close photo of this bobber being taken. Got on that real sensitive bite. I don't know what this is, but he is, I'm gonna let him run with it this time for a good little bit, see if he can hook up. Because he's taking it and he's letting it go. He is taking it and he is letting it go. See if I can. Oh, God damn. Woo, he hit that son gun good. He hit it like a, wow. Gotcha. There he is. It's a nice little bait right there. Little bitty critter. Well, boys and girls, I'll have to say this little experiment we're doing here It's not the best thing in the world, but it is, it works. And I gotta say, it's pretty fun if you're not just out here just, you know, trying to feed yourself or whatever. It's interesting to say the least. That's what I have to say, because you can only do the same thing for so long until it gets boring, at least for me. At least I feel that way. So, I know I'm going to have at least 15 comments saying, that's not how you use that rod. That's not how it's supposed to be used. You're trying to reinvent the wheel. Well, I'm just trying to have some fun, guys. So, if you guys liked this, or y'all want to see more crazy stuff like this, more, you know, trial and error, let me know in the comments. You know, I'm working on, every time y'all comment something, that helps me figure out what to do. It helps me figure out, hey, I don't need to go buy, you know, this, and this if y'all ain't gonna be interested in it. So yeah, if you guys want to see something, just let me know in the comments. I might not respond to all my comments, but I read every single one of them. And I hope it don't seem like too much of a dick, but I just don't respond to all of them. So, like, comment, subscribe, guys. And if you guys want to help support the channel, there will be a link to my Patreon in the description. For me, it's $2 a month to support my channel, and that goes to buying stuff to make and whatnot. You guys want to help support it, it's $2 a month. That's literally less than a gas station cheeseburger. If you guys don't want to, you know, help out, that's cool. I understand it. Not everybody can. But, yeah. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. And catch y'all on the next one.